These ancient waters hold whispers of an empire's ambition, now just a chilling testament to nature's untamed might. Look closely at their faces. Fear, not of men, but of the ceaseless, indifferent sea, fills these desperate souls. And then, fire, born on the night wind, a terrifying, man-made chaos added to the ocean's unforgiving wrath. The grand formation, once deemed invincible, now scattered, broken, a nightmare unfolding, not in glorious battle. Imagine a fleet so vast, so powerful, its sheer presence could make the very ocean tremble with silent awe. Each mast, each sail, carried the weight of a divine mission, blessed by the Pope, whispered in hallowed halls. They believed themselves invincible, chosen by God, destined to conquer, to reshape the world in His holy name. From the mightiest empire on earth, this fleet sailed, carrying hopes of glory, unwavering faith, and dominion. But what if this divine fleet, meant to conquer, faced an enemy far more profound, devastating to itself? What if its foe wasn't an army, but a journey of self-destruction, a catastrophic, internal unraveling, not clang of swords or roar of cannons, but the relentless, indifferent embrace of the ocean itself? A story where the very heavens seemed to conspire against the force they were meant to protect. A shocking outcome for a fleet blessed by God, meant for triumph, yet destined for such profound tragedy. This is the tale of the Spanish Armada, a divine fleet, profoundly destined to tragically sink itself. We'll feel the salty spray, hear the creaking timber, sense the fear, not just learn names. Come closer, friend. Let me share a story echoing across centuries, a profound lesson for us all. Through shared reflection, we'll journey back to an age of titans, of faith, and devastating storms. Some stories linger, not for glory but for quiet lessons, whispered through time's gentle hand. How could such a monument of power, a beacon of faith, succumb to its own harrowing journey? A tragedy not carved by direct defeat, but by the slow unraveling of fate and ambition. Their final voyage's echoes stay with you, a testament to nature's raw power and human hubris. Let us begin this solemn journey, to witness how a divine fleet truly, profoundly, sank itself. In the fading light of a century's end, a restless quiet settled over Europe, a fragile peace. Yet beneath the surface, ancient faiths stirred, two mighty currents pulling at the very soul of a continent. Spain, a titan of its age, stood as the sun never truly set upon its colossal, global empire. And at its heart, King Philip II, a man of profound faith, saw himself God's own champion. Across the choppy seas, England, a smaller island realm, dared to chart its own, separate course. Queen Elizabeth I, intelligent and shrewd, became a beacon, protector of the burgeoning Protestant faith. The ideological chasm between them deepened, a spiritual fault line stretching across the very soul of Europe. Philip's Spain, immense and wealthy, aspired to an undisputed Catholic dominion over the world. England, though smaller, commanded vital sea lanes, a defiant pebble in the shoe of giants. The stakes were profound, nothing less than who would truly guide the destiny of Europe. Beyond power, it was a battle for souls, for the very religious heart of Western civilization. And in this grand design, the personal fates of two powerful monarchs hung precariously in the balance. Philip dreamt of a unified Catholic continent, a righteous peace under God's watchful eye. Elizabeth, meanwhile, fought to protect her realm, her people's freedom, and their chosen faith. The Spanish Armada, a magnificent fleet, symbolized a traditional, formidable power built on conquest. English ships, nimble and swift, represented a new way. Less brute force, more cunning precision. Into this tense arena stepped Sir Francis Drake, a man of both legend and profound controversy. To some, a heroic explorer. To others, a notorious pirate. He was a thorn in Spain's side. English privateers, with Elizabeth's tacit blessing, raided Spanish treasure, a constant, vexing provocation. Vast riches from the New World poured into Spain, funding grand ambitions, fueling this rising tension. Yet, constant warfare and a sprawling empire drained even Spain's formidable coffers. A heavy burden. Through skirmishes and daring voyages, England forged its nascent naval prowess, learning swiftly from experience. Spain boasted a formidable, traditional military might, its seasoned armies the envy of Europe. An ancient, ponderous might against a rising, agile challenger. The old ways met the new. Like distant thunder, the rumblings of conflict grew louder, a storm brewing on the horizon. Diplomatic pleasantries faded, replaced by stern warnings and hardening stances. The path to peace narrowed. A palpable sense of inevitability settled, a heavy quiet before the storm truly broke. Two titans on the brink, fueled by unwavering faith and grand imperial ambitions, locked in destiny's gaze. The world held its breath, waiting for the first spark, the moment the inevitable clash would ignite. This was the stage set, the profound foundation laid for a conflict that would forever shape nations. Sometimes, a single act echoes through time, shaking kingdoms to their very foundations, forever altering the course. For years, the whispers of betrayal and plotting filled the royal courts, a dangerous game of shadows. Mary, Queen of Scots, a claimant to England's throne, became entangled in threads of ambition and faith. She was a symbol, a Catholic hope, a constant threat to England's Protestant queen, Elizabeth I. The moment arrived when plots, real and imagined, could no longer be ignored by the English crown. Then came the inevitable verdict, a decision that would send shockwaves across the whole of Europe. On a cold February morning, Mary's final journey ended upon a scaffold at Fotheringhay Castle. Her execution, an act unthinkable to many monarchs, tore open wounds that had festered for years. It was a direct challenge, an insult to the divine right of kings, a profound breach of sacred trust. Across the sea, in the grand courts of Spain, word of Mary's death landed like a thunderbolt. For Philip II, King of Spain, this was not just news. It was a deeply personal, unforgivable transgression. He believed himself God's chosen defender of the Catholic faith, entrusted with a sacred duty. To him, Mary's death was a martyrdom, a sacrilege demanding divine retribution against Protestant England. But Mary's death was only the final spark, igniting a powder keg of long-held grievances. For years, English ships, often little more than state-sponsored pirates, had preyed upon Spanish treasure fleets. These audacious raids, championed by Elizabeth, were a constant, galling affront to Spanish honor and wealth. Each stolen peso, each seized galleon, chipped away at Philip's patience, fueling his simmering rage. Beyond the piracy, England stood as a bastion of Protestantism, openly defying the Catholic Church's authority. This blatant defiance, this open heresy, was an unbearable affront to Philip's deeply held Catholic convictions. Mary's death, the piracy, the heresy it pushed King Philip II beyond his breaking point. He saw it clearly now, a divine mission, a sacred calling, bestowed upon him by God himself. His purpose was clear: to overthrow the heretic Queen Elizabeth, liberating England from Protestant rule. He would re-establish the true faith, bringing England back into the comforting embrace of Catholicism, and in doing so, secure Spain's rightful place, ensuring its hegemony, its dominance across the known world. The time for diplomacy, for hesitant whispers, was over. The time for decisive action had arrived. With a heavy heart, yet an unshakable conviction, he made the momentous, fateful decision. From his austere chambers, the solemn command was issued, echoing through the vast Spanish Empire. A grand fleet, unlike any seen before, would be gathered. A divine fleet it would be. Its purpose, to humble England, to restore God's order, to crush all defiance under its mighty keel. Thus, Philip II ordered the assembly, setting in motion events that would forever change the tides of history. Along the sun-drenched coasts of Spain, a murmur grew into a thunderous roar. History was holding its breath. To gather such a force, to feed 30,000 souls, was a task almost beyond human imagining. Mountains of food, vats of water, powder, shot every necessity for an invasion piled high. A testament to ambition. 130 vessels, each with its own story, its own timbers groaning beneath the weight of expectation. 30,000 men, leaving behind their homes, their loved ones, embarking on a journey into the unknown. Even amidst the grandeur, quiet whispers of doubt began to stir amongst the captains, a shadow on the great enterprise. The weight of a nation's hopes, of God's perceived will, bore down heavily on those who led this invincible fleet. Yet, the winds refused to cooperate. Delays mounted, weeks turned into months, testing the patience of everyone involved. Time, ever cruel, began to spoil the carefully gathered supplies, a silent enemy gnawing at their readiness. And with delay, sickness, too, found its way amongst the crowded decks, weakening bodies and spirit before battle. Finally, with a deep collective sigh, the great ships began to stir, turning their prows towards the distant north. Across the narrow sea, news of the gathering storm reached England's shores, stirring a nation to urgent action. Along the rugged coastlines, ancient beacon chains sprang to life, fiery signals blazing against the encroaching darkness. There was no grand central army, but countless local efforts, a decentralized spirit ready to defend their homes. From every creek and river, smaller ships, agile and swift, answered the call, a defiant swarm against giants, and amongst them, figures like Drake, audacious and bold, embodying a spirit that refused to be bowed or broken. Their queen, a lioness heart, inspired them not with fear, but with a fierce, unwavering belief in their cause. Training was swift, sometimes crude, yet born of a desperate urgency, a shared resolve to protect their island. Every village, every town prepared, understanding that the fight for England might begin on their very doorstep. Protestant and Catholic, rich and poor, a fragile unity forged in the face of an existential, looming threat. It was a story of ordinary people finding extraordinary courage when their beloved homeland was truly imperiled. And so they waited, a smaller, leaner force, ready to meet the mighty challenge that was slowly approaching them. At last, the colossal fleet, a floating city, weighed anchor, its immense journey across the unpredictable seas begun. Keeping such a vast armada in tight formation across the ocean's vastness was a challenge few could truly grasp. But the sea, an impartial witness, often has its own plans, ignoring man's grand ambitions entirely. Unseasonable storms erupted, tearing at sails, splintering masts, scattering the carefully ordered ranks of ships. Damaged, delayed, some ships forced to turn back for repairs, the invincible fleet found its first true adversary. With each passing day at sea, confined and damp, sickness continued its cruel, silent march through the fleet. The initial zeal began to wane, replaced by weariness, uncertainty, and the gnawing anxiety of the journey ahead. Inch by agonizing inch, the vast armada pressed onward, a lumbering behemoth struggling against wind and tide. Replenishing resources at sea proved nearly impossible, a logistical tangle born of the fleet's sheer, immense size. Yet, despite all hardships, the English Channel, their ultimate destination, slowly, inexorably, drew nearer. As land appeared, a fresh wave of determination swept through the ranks, ready to face the long-awaited enemy. Then, the first cry from an English masthead, "Sail!" a dark, majestic mass emerging from the morning mist. England's smaller, faster ships, like eager hounds, sprang to life, preparing to harry the lumbering giants. The air grew thick with gunpowder and tension as the first tentative shots were fired, breaking the tense silence. Their strategy was clear, not to conquer, but to harass, to disrupt, to chip away at the formidable formation. English guns, lighter and more precise, could strike from a distance, a frustrating dance for the Spanish. The Spanish, with their heavier, short-range cannons, struggled to land a decisive blow on their nimble adversaries. It was a fight of patience and agility against brute force, a clever tactical game played out on the open sea. The towering Spanish ships, designed for boarding, found themselves at an unexpected disadvantage in this new kind of warfare. Each successful skirmish bolstered English spirits, confirming their strategy, solidifying their unwavering resolve to win. The Divine Fleet had met its first challenge, yet the true test, the immense difficulties, lay ominously ahead. And so, the stage was set, two giants locked in a dance, destiny waiting to unfold upon the historic, restless waters. The great fleet rested, a formidable crescent, embracing the quiet of this summer's eve. A profound silence hung, each mast a silent sentinel, each sail furled in slumber. They trusted the night's embrace. Yet, even in stillness, a tremor of doubt might stir. The unknown always lurked beyond. The wind began to turn, a soft breath, carrying promises of dawn but also unseen perils. Far off, where darkness met the sea, shadows stirred, not of the night, but of intent. Across the waters, a different kind of vigil unfolded. Necessity sharpened their desperate plan. They gathered the tools of their dread gambit: wood, pitch, and the raw, unyielding power of fire. With heavy hearts, perhaps, but steady hands, they lit the first spark of their terrifying sacrifice. Then, from the darkness, 8 burning specters emerged. The fireship gambit had begun. Borne on the current, these ghostly infernos drifted towards their unsuspecting, deeply anchored prey. A distant glow caught a watchman's eye, a curious shimmer on the otherwise peaceful water. That flicker soon became a blaze, and then a horrifying realization dawned upon them. The cries began, sharp and sudden, tearing through the quiet night like jagged knives. Sleep-heavy eyes stared, trying to decipher the growing terror in the inky blackness. Nearer they came, these infernal messengers, painting monstrous shadows on the silent, sleeping fleet. Panic, cold and swift, spread through the heart of that mighty, unsuspecting formation. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of smoke and the searing heat of destruction. What could they do? Trapped, exposed, the terrifying reality of their peril seized them. Their anchors held them fast, a blessing now a cruel, unyielding bond in the face of fire. The blazing ships were almost amongst them, a living, breathing wall of consuming inferno. Desperation fueled their every move, but their efforts seemed utterly, terribly, in vain. To weigh anchor was too slow. The fiery demise was upon them. A desperate choice loomed. The command, harsh and heartbreaking, rang out. Cut the anchors, cut them now. With axes raised, they struck at their very lifeline, severing their connection to the seabed. The night filled with the terrible symphony of steel on iron, a desperate plea for survival. With a wrenching groan, mighty chains broke, plunging into the dark, silent depths below. Free from their bonds, ships drifted aimlessly, scattering like leaves before a fearsome gale. The mighty crescent, a symbol of their unity, began to tragically unravel, losing its shape. In the chaotic darkness, hulls scraped and splintered, each vessel a solitary, fearful entity. Warnings cried into the void, a desperate attempt to avoid collision in the blinding chaos. The fireships moved on, leaving behind not just embers, but a fleet profoundly broken. The divine fleet, once formidable, was now merely scattered vessels, each facing its own dread. A captain's heart sank, watching his proud order crumble into desperate, uncertain disarray. The symphony of the night had become a jarring cacophony of fear and desperate, raw confusion. Where order once reigned, now only emptiness, and the haunting echo of what had been lost. As false dawn broke, it revealed a scene of utter, heartbreaking disarray. A shattered dream. The divine fleet lay scattered, its formidable crescent formation irrevocably broken under a fading moon. Weary faces reflected the dawning reality. Their strength was now their grave vulnerability. Those severed chains, deep below, spoke of a desperate act, a sacrifice for momentary survival. The immediate threat had passed, yet a deeper, more chilling vulnerability remained, raw and exposed. For as the morning light emerged, so too did the clear, grim intention of their foes. The Spanish, scattered and shaken, now faced a new, far deadlier, organized challenge. The Channel, once calm, now held its breath, poised for the coming, irreversible clash of giants. The night's chaos had set the stage. A new day promised an even greater, devastating reckoning. As the false dawn broke, whispers of chaos still clung to the air, leaving them adrift. The grand formation, once invincible, now lay fractured, each vessel a lonely island of doubt. Meanwhile, the English, nimble and watchful, saw their moment, a fragile crack in the enemy's resolve. Hope, a flickering candle in the storm, began to dim for the admiral, witnessing his broken dream. The English admirals, their eyes keen and purpose clear, knew this was where fate would turn. With newfound courage, they pressed forward, like hounds sensing weakness, eager to claim what was theirs. Yet, even in disarray, there was a valiant effort to restore the old majesty, a fleeting hope. Then, the air itself shivered as the distant thunder of cannons heralded the battle's cruel arrival. Their smaller frames, once a disadvantage, now became their dance, weaving through the lumbering giants. Each cannon, a grim mouth, swallowed its iron meal, ready to speak a language of fire. Wood screamed as iron bit deep, a terrible symphony of destruction echoing across the grey waves. From their lofty perches, the Spanish returned fire. Yet their aim, alas, often found only water. This was no longer a clash of giants, but a nimble dance against slow, bewildered foes. Amidst the smoke and shriek of wood, men bravely fought, their faith a fragile shield. With each shattering blow, the admiral felt his grand enterprise, his sacred mission, slowly crumble. Small victories, born of grit and skill, fueled their resolve, pushing them onward, relentless. The sea, once their highway to glory, now claimed a new pyre, a burning testament. Wounded, defeated, they turned their backs to the storm of shot, seeking escape from fate. The chase was relentless, a cruel affirmation that retreat was now their only, bitter option. As the guns fell silent, a new silence, profound and heavy, settled over the shattered fleet. Yet, man's struggle was not the end. Nature, a silent observer, began to flex her immense power. The wind, a capricious spirit, now became their master, guiding them to an unknown, colder fate. Every rope, every mast, became a battle, as the sea herself seemed to conspire against them. He understood then, with a chill deeper than the sea, that this journey was irreversible. The English watched, knowing the storm would finish what their cannons had so bravely begun. Northward lay a world unknown, a cruel labyrinth of currents and treacherous, unforgiving seas. The magnificent vessels, built for sun-kissed seas, now groaned under the Atlantic's harsh, cold embrace. Hope for the Channel, for safe harbors, vanished with the fading coastline, leaving only despair. The grim truth settled upon them like a shroud. Their divine mission had become a desperate odyssey. There was no turning back, no regrouping, only the relentless push of the wind's cold breath. The maps, once guides to glory, now offered little comfort, only warnings of untold dangers. With each passing day, provisions dwindled, a bitter truth adding to their already profound suffering. The warmth of home, of Spain, felt a lifetime away, replaced by the North's icy, unyielding grip. The very bones of their ships cried out, unable to withstand the relentless battering of the sea. The sea began to claim its own, swallowing hopes and lives into its vast, cold, indifferent depths. His gaze held an unbearable sorrow, watching his fleet, his dream, sail into the abyss. While one fleet suffered, another returned home, their victory etched in the retreating enemy's fate. Two fates, one channel, one celebrating, the other battling an unforgiving, relentless, and truly cruel sea. As they rounded the island's edge, a new peril emerged. The jagged teeth of Ireland's western shores. The wind became the executioner, dashing noble ships against the unforgiving, stony, ancient coast. Some found land, but not solace. Another struggle for survival began on foreign, unwelcoming shores. A divine fleet, built on fervent prayer, now lay scattered, proof that even faith has limits. For those who remained, a long, weary journey lay ahead, a silent testament to a dream undone. The sea remembers all, a solemn story of ambition, of courage, and of nature's ultimate power. They turned north, sails tattered, defeated but hoping for home. Their true trials, however, had just begun. The familiar wind now pushed them relentlessly into unknown, colder waters. Home felt so impossibly distant, a fading dream. With each passing league, the comforting shores of England receded, leaving them alone with the immense, unforgiving sea. They sailed ever northward, leaving behind familiar battlegrounds. Their enemy was no longer man, but the unforgiving ocean itself. The sea, a cruel master, now revealed its true fury. This was a foe far more relentless than any cannon fire. The gentle hum of the wind turned to a howl. The sky, once a distant comfort, now threatened to devour them. It was the Little Ice Age, a colder, harsher world. The heavens themselves seemed to conspire against their passage. Then came the storms, one after another, an endless assault. Each wave felt like a hammer blow from the very gods. Timbers groaned, masts creaked. The very soul of the ships wrestled with the ocean. Sleep became an impossible dream. Many anchors, lost in battle, now doomed them. There was no shelter from the storm's relentless, shattering embrace. Helplessly, they drifted, pushed by currents towards a coast unknown and unforgiving. Their destiny was no longer their own. The Emerald Isle, a land of ancient beauty, became a graveyard. Its jagged shores offered no comfort, only destruction. Then the screams. Ship after ship dashed against the unforgiving rocks, splintering into countless tragic pieces. Men, once proud warriors, were cast into the frigid depths. The sea took them, silently, mercilessly, without apology. Fresh water, a simple need, became a precious luxury. Thirst gnawed at them, a torment deeper than any battle wound. Provisions spoiled, stomachs empty, hope dwindled. The fight for life became a desperate, losing battle against hunger. Then came the sickness, a silent predator. It swept through the weakened men, leaving only fever and despair in its wake. On crowded decks, once brave souls lay dying. The sea claimed bodies, disease claimed spirits, slowly, cruelly, relentlessly. The spirit broke long before the body. Despair, a silent phantom, stole away their very will to fight. The divine fleet, once blessed, now felt abandoned. Had their God forsaken them in this watery, desolate hell? Thousands lost, not to English guns, but to nature's wrath. This was an epic human tragedy, written by the cruel sea. Those who survived bore scars, both seen and unseen. The mighty Armada was a scattered, broken dream. The North Sea, a silent witness, held their final stories, a reminder of nature's power and man's fragile hopes. The scarred hulls, tattered sails, they limped back home, carrying a sorrowful silence, a grievous journey. Faces etched with defeat, bodies worn by storm. These were the men who survived. A heavy burden. Imagine the long, agonizing journey, the whispers of loss carried by the unforgiving Atlantic wind. In the dim chambers of El Escorial, King Philip awaited news, a quiet dread in his heart. The somber messenger arrived, bearing words that would forever change his kingdom's fate. His face, a mask of stoic piety, yet beneath it, a profound, human heartbreak endured. A silent, profound turning point settled upon the world, echoing through history's long corridors. Spain's grand image, once unshakable, now fractured, like ancient stone crumbling under immense pressure. The myth of invincibility, a comforting shield, was utterly shattered that tempestuous autumn day. Across Europe, hearts felt the subtle shift, a quiet tremor in the old order. The slow, almost imperceptible, ebb of Spain's golden tide quietly, sadly, began its journey. Resources dwindled. Ambitions, once boundless and grand, started to quietly, sadly, shrink. A fading light, as the vast, sprawling empire faced its inevitable, melancholic twilight years. Meanwhile, across the turbulent channel, a different, vibrant star was confidently rising. England, buoyed by triumph, began to truly embrace its destiny upon the unforgiving waves. New ships, sturdy and swift, filled bustling docks, charting courses for unknown, distant shores. Protestantism, once precarious and threatened, now firmly rooted itself in resilient English soil. A nation's faith, secured and emboldened, confidently looked out towards the vast, open horizon. This victory whispered of distant lands, of boundless, exciting new possibilities for exploration. The seeds of a global empire, tiny yet mighty, were quietly, patiently being sown. More than just ships. A grand, devout dream of a religious crusade quietly, sadly, sank. The map of power, once seemingly settled, was irrevocably redrawn by these unforgiving winds. A new maritime era dawned, forever changing the world's ancient rhythms and grand designs. And so, we arrive at the quiet harbor of conclusion, reflecting on a legacy etched deep in history's currents. The Armada's tragic fate, once a grand dream, became a somber echo across the turbulent waters of time. A mission believed divinely ordained, fueled by faith and an unyielding will, set sail with boundless hope. Yet, it was nature's raw, untamed power that truly wrote the final, humbling chapter of this grand endeavor. But within that chaos, we also witnessed the quiet, indomitable spirit of human resilience, refusing to yield completely. And the cleverness of human minds, with strategic ingenuity, found ways to navigate overwhelming, seemingly impossible odds. Let us pause to consider the profound shift, a quiet tremor across the grand tapestry of European power. The balance of power in Europe began its slow, inevitable reordering after those fateful, tumultuous days. From this epic tale, enduring lessons emerge, whispering to us across the centuries, if we only listen closely. The Great Armada's fall remains a poignant reminder of nature's wrath and human ambition's fragile boundaries. If this journey through history resonated with you, please consider leaving a like. It truly helps us. For more stories that seek to uncover history's deeper heartbeat, do subscribe to our channel. Tell me, in comments below, what truly led to the Armada's profound, tragic self-destruction? Was it man's hubris or nature's indifferent fury? Share your thoughts. Let's reflect together.